The DV8 off-road front recovery bumper is available for the 2014 or 15 Chevy Silverado owner who's an avid off-roader looking to get some impressive front-end protection with a full bumper replacement that offers winch add-on capabilities to help with those tough situations that might get you stuck. Now this is a hefty beast, so I'd recommend having a helping hand on deck to get it installed, but I'll get to that later on. I'll just let you know up front here, 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. This bumper is the perfect solution for those tough off-roading spots that could get your truck stuck in the mud. Now with a truck that doesn't have anything to help with recovery, then you'll be relying on a friend who does, or just hoping somebody else can come through and save the day. If you pick up this bumper, not only does it look super aggressive, but it also allows you to drop a winch into the 12,500 pound capable winch plate in order to help yourself out of the situation. Now, you might not always have a shoulder to lean on when you're on the trails, so being able to toss a winch around a tree and pull yourself out is a huge advantage out in the rough country. Since protection plays a huge part here, the mechanically welded monoblock design adds extreme strength with cold rolled 3/16 inch steel. Now the dual stage matte black powder coating adds pretty seriously intimidating looks, but it more importantly gives a rust and corrosion resistance. Now you'll notice that the bumper is cut at upward angles to provide high grade approach angles to give you the most off-road capable design. Now this basically means that when approaching a rock, the bumper provides clearance so that your tires hit it first, so your bumper stays unharmed. Now the lifted corners take it a step farther, so your tires have proper clearance as well going over obstacles. Now you'll notice that the winch plate is covered by a layer of metal as well, hidden inside the bumper. Now I really like this because if you were to come in contact with something, your winch stays protected and unharmed, still able to do its job. Some of the other recovery bumpers on the market leave your winch a little bit vulnerable on the outside of the bumper, which can be problematic if you get in an accident or hit a rock harder than you expected on the trails. Now attached are galvanized D-rings to help your recovery take it a step farther, and the pre-cut slots for the factory fog lights or aftermarket spotlights or floodlights provide a good visual aid for night crawlers and worksite truckers. As far as the pricing goes, this is one of the more affordable options currently on the site, which in my opinion is a huge steal. It's one of the better looking bumpers, I think. It doesn't make the truck look goofy like some of the crazy intricate options do with too much going on. It's got a smooth, simplistic design that keeps an off-roader in mind with properly cut angles and optimal recovery points with winch mounting opportunities. Now it comes in just under the $700 mark, while other recovery bumpers, say from Iron Cross, come in north of the $1,200 mark. The difference being that Iron Cross has a wall over rider bar, but I honestly think this has huge pros for the price it has. The installation is simple enough for anyone to tackle, but like I said in the beginning, you want to have a helping hand on deck because it is so damn heavy. You want to have a ratchet and socket set, a pair of pliers on deck, and about 2 hours or so worth of time. Overall, 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanTrucks.com. Today I'm going to review and install the DV8 off-road recovery bumper, great for any 14 or 15 Silverado. We've got a 2013 Z71 in the shop to get the job done, but it's great for any trim package. Now if you're looking to get a really strong, durable, and reliable off-road body armor for your front end, the DV8 bumper here is a great option. It's got some additional goods like the LED accent lighting included in the kit here to fit in those pre-cut holes. There's a winch plate in the back protected by front metal to make sure you have recovery options in the future if you wanted to add a winch, and to make sure that winch is protected by a sheet of steel. Some galvanized D-rings add to that recovery opportunity, and again, this is just all around a really good off-road option. Before we get to the install though, there's a couple uninstall things we have to take care of. We're going to take off the front end grille and we're going to take off the bumper, remove those tow hooks, and then get together for the install. So let's get to it. So for now, we've got the bumper set aside. We have to work on some of the uninstall on our Z71 today. So first thing you want to do is pop your hood open and remove the 12 pushpin clips holding on your top radiator shroud. Today I'm using a panel removal tool. Flathead screwdriver also works, but either way, grab your tool and remove these plunger style clips. So the trick to removing these plunger style push pins on your radiator shroud is to take your panel removal tool and feed it under that open slot on the top portion here. Once you have that fed under, you can pull this middle portion up, but not fully out. So with that top plunger piece out, feed it under the bottom and pull the push pin out of place. Now if you remove the top portion and not the full bottom portion, they'll come apart into 2 separate pieces and not fully come out of the radiator shroud. So removing them in 2 stages like this will definitely be a lot easier on your removal and your reinstallation later. With all 12 of those plunger style push pin clips removed, we can pull off our radiator shroud. Once the shroud is out of place, there are 4 10mm bolts holding on your front upper grille. Remove those bolts and then put a little pressure on pulling this out. It'll come right off. Now that we have the 4 upper grille bolts removed, there are 4 lower ones we have to get to, but they are hidden by this plastic trim panel above your bumper and below your grille. In order to remove this trim panel, you're gonna have to remove 2 bolts in each of the wheel wells, holding this on to each end, and then the middle is just riddled with push pin clips. Once those bolts are removed, you'll head underneath the car, release those push pin clips, come back up, and pull the trim panel off. So let's start on the bolts. Over here on our passenger side, we'll start off removing these bolts for our plastic trim. You're gonna need a 7mm socket and a ratchet to remove this front one, and then there's another one hiding up here in this little corner, in which we'll actually use a 7mm swivel socket to make our lives a little bit easier. So go ahead and use your socket to remove this. We'll switch over to our 7mm swivel socket just to get up in this corner a little more, and an extension definitely helps with this to give you a little more leverage and a little more room. You can see right where this is coming out here. Do the same thing for the driver's side. So guys, once you remove the bolts from the plastic trim panel from the wheel well, all you have to do is peel off the trim panel from each side in the wheel well, making sure you're being a little careful just because it is a plastic trim and you don't want to crack it. Now again, you're not going to be using this once your bumper is installed, but it is good to have on deck for the future if you ever wanted to revert to stock. So peel off the sides on the ends, pull straight back from the middle with a little bit of pressure, just being careful not to yank it too hard, and you'll get it right off. Set that aside. Once that plastic trim panel is removed, it exposes the 4 lower bolts holding on our upper grille. There's going to be 1 bolt on each end and 2 toward the middle. So grab your 10mm socket, a nice extension on your ratchet or power tool or air gun, and get those removed. Once those 4 bolts are removed, all you have to do is pull straight back on the grill and it'll come right off. When it comes to removing your front bumper, there are 6 bolts total that you have to remove. 4 of them are up front, and then 2 of them are underneath the truck. The 4 up front, you'll have 2 very easily accessible here, and then 2 more recessed that you'll need an extension for. Now these are all going to be 18mm bolts, so grab your socket and get to it. Before you remove the bumper from the vehicle, it's a good idea to disconnect the fog light harness here. So push up on the red tab, pull the harness apart. So underneath the truck, you'll have 2 bolts, 1 on each side here, attached to this longer bar. Now that's going to be the last couple of bolts holding on this bumper. So use your 15mm socket to get these removed. At this point, it's a good idea to have a helping hand holding onto the bumper from the top, just so it doesn't fall on you when you remove the final bolts. So now there's only a couple of steps left for your uninstall here. The last few things you need to do are remove the face plates over top of your tow hooks. There's 3 15mm bolts we'll be removing, and then there's 2 bolts holding on your tow hooks on both sides. So grab your 15mm socket. I'm using power tools for this just to make life a little easier, and go ahead and remove those bolts. Now for the removal of your tow hooks, there are 2 bolts on your left-hand side here, one of which goes all the way through and is held on by a nut on the other side. So you will need a wrench or a ratchet to hold onto the nut while you work the other side. So grab your 18mm socket for this job and remove those bolts. All right, pull your tow hook out of place. So now that we're finished up with the uninstall on our truck here, it's time to start installing our DV8 bumper. Now before we can get the bumper on the truck, we got to install the brackets. Now we've got some really heavy duty one-piece steel brackets, really clean welds, so it matches very well with your DV8 bumper. Really strong stuff here, you don't have to worry about it cracking. Now we're going to install this into our factory location for the faceplate above our factory tow hooks. We're also going to use the stock hardware. So we got our 18mm bolts. I'm going to feed these through here and install the bracket, use our power tools to tighten them down, do the same thing for the opposite side. So once our brackets are installed, it's time to work on assembling our DV8 bumper here. Now, there are 4 LED accent fog lights that are included in the kit for you, which is a huge bonus for the DV8 option here. Not a lot of the ones on the site actually include LED lighting for you. A lot of times you have to pick them up separately. So that's something to consider when you're shopping around for an aftermarket off-road recovery bumper. The other cool thing about the DV8 bumper is the pre-cut slots. They've already drilled out the holes for you to install these lights, so you don't have to do any custom work to the bumper itself. Hardware is also included to get this installed, and then the only thing that comes down to it is how you want to wire it, which I'll touch on in just a second. Now for this installation, the fog light goes from the outside in, so we're going to feed our wires through our slot here, and it lines up with the pre-drilled holes. We have our lock washer, flat washer over our Allen key bolt, and then the nut's going to go on the opposite side. So we're going to install all 4 of these fog lights. There's 4 bolts to each light, so let's get to it. And once you have the bolts and nuts through the holes on the light through the bumper, all you have to do is take the Allen key provided in the kit, a 10mm socket, and tighten them all down, then repeat that same process for all 4 lights. Right, and with the last bolt tightened up, that's gonna finish up installing our LED auxiliary lights into our bumper. Now when it comes to wiring these things in, it's very much personal preference. There's a number of different ways you can handle the wiring. You can splice it all into the fog lights, splice them into their own separate switch. You can solder them in. It really is a personal preference with how you wanna do it on your own truck. Today, we're gonna make our lives a little bit easier and splice these into our fog light harness, but again, it's gonna be up to you. So now that our wiring is taken care of on our bumper, we spliced in those auxiliary lights into the factory fog light bumper harness that will then plug into the harness in the vehicle. So that's all taken care of. The next step before we can put our bumper onto our brackets is to remove the plastic trim pieces on each side under the fender. There are 3 7mm bolts and a T15 Torx bit in the wheel well that'll remove that plastic trim. Then again on the other side of the vehicle. Once that's taken care of, 18mm bolts, 3 of them to be exact, will actually install our DV8 bumper to our brackets. So let's get to it. The only thing holding our bumper up from being installed onto the truck now is this little plastic trim piece underneath of our headlight. It's a very, very simple uninstall. All you need is a T15 Torx bit, and we've got this on the end of an extension just to act as a screwdriver. And there's 2 screws, one on each side, that'll hold this on. Remove those screws and pop the trim out. Now it's finally time to get our DV8 bumper onto our 2015 Silverado. Now, if you have enough friends to help you out, this is very, very heavy. So if you have friends that can hold it up while you work the ratchet and socket, that's great. It's only me and my buddy Travis here, so we're using a hydraulic floor jack here to kind of hold the bumper into place and level with the brackets. And from there, Travis will balance it out and I'll work the ratchet. So again, an 18mm socket is what you'll need. There's 3 bolts going onto each bracket here, so let's get to it. So the last step in our process, we got our bumper bolted down. We just want to remember to plug in our fog light harness simply because we spliced our LED auxiliary lights into our factory bumper fog light harness. So we've got that spliced in. Connecting that harness connector is the last step. All we have to do to wrap up this install is throw the factory grill back on, top it off with the radiator shroud, and we'll be good to go. So let's get to it. All right, that's going to wrap up our install for the DV8 off-road recovery bumper fitting all 2014 to 2015 Silverados. If you want to get yours, you can get it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.